morning. Breaking news. Tragedy at the top of the world. An avalanche on Mount Everest kills at least 13 people. It's being called the worst accident ever on the world's highest peak. Criminal act. Prosecutors seeking an arrest warrant this morning for the captain of the ferry that sank off the coast of South Korea. And the tragedy is compounded with word that the vice principal to many of the students who are missing has now taken his own life. In custody, an arrest made in a series of random highway shootings that has terrorized drivers in Kansas City for weeks. And grandparents at last.
Mark and I are very excited that we have our first child arriving later this year.
The big bouncing baby news from Chelsea Clinton today, Friday, April 18th, 2014.
From NBC News, this is Today with Matt Lauer and Savannah Guthrie, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Today on a Friday morning. I'm Savannah Guthrie alongside Carson Daly, Natalie Morales, Dylan Dreyer. Matt and Al have the morning off. We have a busy news morning. What a terrifying situation at the top of the world on Mount Everest.
It was only moments after that avalanche that rescuers raced in and began digging through that deep snow and ice.
The fierce avalanche swept down the slopes of Mount Everest early this morning, killing 13 Nepali mountain guides and injuring another 4. 2 are in critical condition. The mountain guides, known as Sherpas, went out in the early hours to deliver supplies for the upcoming busy season in early May, when climbing conditions are most favorable. The avalanche hit the Sherpas as they were climbing higher up to camps 1 and 2. Hundreds of mountaineers from around the world with their guides were waiting down at base camp, preparing to climb the 29,035-foot mountain peak when tragedy struck. The avalanche hit in an area called Popcorn Field, just above Everest Base Camp. Rescue operations are still underway, but today's accident is thought to be the deadliest climbing tragedy on Everest.
Previously, the worst recorded disaster up there was back in 1996 when a snowstorm caused the death of 8 climbers. More than 4,000 climbers have successfully reached Everest summit since Sir Edmund Hillary's famous climb back in 1953.
That ferry disaster in South Korea, an arrest warrant sought for the boat's captain. CNBC's Eunice Yoon is on the island of Jindo near the crash site. Eunice, good morning to you.
Good morning, Carson. Well, grief turned to anger on day 3 of the search. 28 people are dead, 179 have been rescued, and 268 still missing.
A prayer to the gods to calm the seas does little to ease the anger felt among families desperate to see their loved ones alive. This woman tells us her grandson was aboard the sunken ferry. She blames the captain, who investigators say was one of the first to flee the ailing vessel. They say he wasn't even at the helm at the time of the incident, that it was a third officer with just a year's experience. I don't care what any of them say. I just want the captain to come here. The ship is now submerged. However, the authorities are pumping in oxygen, and divers like Brandon Joe are still searching for survivors.
It's impossible to go down, but we have to try. Yeah, we have to sacrifice ourselves to save the people.
Family members have been taking boats to get closer to the search. They're hoping, like in so many other cases around the world, that passengers can still be found, even days later.
Like British sailor Tony Bullimore, who in 1997 survived in his overturned yacht for 5 days in an air bubble.
If there is oxygen in airtight pockets, etc., there's every chance that there could be quite a few more survivors.
But at a nearby gym used to shelter the crowds of relatives, Tae Kyung-young is losing hope. His aunt was on the Sewol setting sail for a new job.
Yes, I heard about the air pocket, and actually, I'm very pessimistic.
As the search for a miracle continues this morning.
And authorities have issued an arrest warrant for the captain in their investigation. Also, most of the passengers on board were students, and what we learned today is that the vice principal, who was traveling with the students and survived the tragedy himself, today in a wooded area outside the gym hanged himself because he was overcome with grief. Carson?
So sad. Eunice Yoon in South Korea. Thank you.
Meantime, closer to home now, we've got a suspect in custody this morning who is connected, allegedly, to a string of highway shootings that put drivers in Kansas City on edge. At least 3 people were injured in this series of apparently random incidents. Let's get to NBC's.
The neighbors, suspect's neighbors say he was a ghost-like figure coming and going at odd hours. They don't even know his name. We hope to learn more about him from police later this morning. Savannah?
All right, John Yang with the latest out of Kansas City this morning. Thank you.